of the things that this show has been missing for a long time is some sort of a cheesy segment with a NASCAR pun. And so I want to call this Start and Park. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the list of playoff eligible drivers in Cup Series. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Guys that are in the playoffs right now. And I don't want you to pick out four for the championship four. I just want you to tell me, do you think this driver could be a championship four driver? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're either going to start them or park them. I'll give you the name. You tell me if you're starting or parking. Good?
Yep.
Okay. Kyle Larson.
Start.
Yep. I'm in the same boat. William Byron.
Start.
I'm parking him. I don't think he's making the championship four. Denny Hamlin.
I'm start.
I'm parking. Denny's not a championship four driver. He's a round of 8 driver.
Following is a production of the Garage Area.
Welcome into the Garage Area. This is our Daytona post-race recap show. We have quite a bit of things to talk about. This was the playoff cutoff race, or the last race of the regular season before the playoffs start for the Cup Series. The Xfinity Series saw Parker Kligerman get a win, substituting for Connor Zilisch. But let's start with the biggest news of the weekend. Cracker Barrel is rebranding. Let's take a moment of silence for Cracker Barrel. Okay, that's long enough. They got rid of the old guy, they got rid of the barrel, and now it's just a boring logo. It's literally what NASCAR has done to the racing of this sport. They took out all the meaningful stuff and just gave us the stupid things. And I'm very upset about the Cracker Barrel thing, not as much as I am about the whole, next gen car taking the racing out of NASCAR type thing. But we'll get to all that later. These last 2 weeks, they've been pretty good. It's been hard to complain about. I actually think that the Richmond race was very good, and this Daytona race was better than I thought it was going to be. So I've really got nothing to complain about there either. Not 100% everything that I wanted, but based on what I've seen lately, I'll take it 100% of the time. Um, the race itself, just before we even get into where our picks finished, where we're going to rate the race, let's just actually talk about the race a little bit. Um, do you know off the top of your head, because I didn't look it up, where Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman were in points, like just in the regular season points,
I know Alex Bowman was ninth, and obviously Reddick was somewhere there above him, but I'm not exactly sure how far or below he was.
but both in the top 10?
Yeah.
Okay. And those two guys were on the verge of being eliminated because they hadn't won a race yet this year. And if a new winner won the race, then one of them would be knocked out, the one that was lower in points. And Bowman was the one that came into the night trailing Reddick. And immediately it looked like, I don't even know what lap it was. It was early in the race. Uh, Reddick gets spun down the infield, heading toward pit road, and bounces his nose off the inside wall. And it was like, oh no, Reddick is going to be in trouble here. I don't know if he's going to be able to recover from this. And he's definitely not going to have a car that's as fast. And Bowman, started up front, even though he started to kind of drift to the back because he doesn't know how to drive and he's not very good running up front. But he did, have an opportunity to get back up there later on. And Reddick's going to be in some serious trouble here because these other guys, they haven't won a race. They're running really well tonight. What are the Reddick fans going to do? And then just a few short laps later, there was another big wreck that actually collected Alex Bowman and put him in the garage and essentially ended his night, making it pretty clear that Tyler Reddick was going to advance at least. And then Bowman was the one that had to hang in the balance all night and see who we were going to get for a winner of that race. In fact, Jordan Bianchi said on the teardown that at one point I don't know if he talked to Bowman during the race or if it was right after the race, uh, that Bowman came out of the trailer or out of the hauler, and he said he had his hand in his pocket, and when he took his hand out of his pocket, it was just shaking like you wouldn't believe because was that nervous about, the outcome of the race, and rightfully so. I mean, I make fun of Alex Bowman for a lot of things, but I can see why he would have been uh, very nervous in that situation. Did you think that things were over for Reddick when he ended up hitting the wall?
I wasn't say he was everything was over because I knew he was going to be back out on the track and at least running laps. Um, and I knew enough carnage could happen to, if even if he couldn't run full pace, that enough carnage could or possibly could happen that he would still gain positions in the end from drivers being out. And obviously, in the end, he had enough pace to even be. I think he ran close to the top 10 at points as long as he was behind another car. So um, I wasn't I wasn't 100% worried, but it was Alex Bowman would have had a really good night, and Reddick had a terrible night, and it just I just knew that there was a chance that carnage could happen. And obviously, it happened, but yeah,
Yeah, as soon as I saw him bounce it off the inside wall and I saw that nose damage, I was like, I can't believe that this guy, seventh in points or wherever he was, is going to miss the playoffs because of this stupid point system, because of this dumb format that we deal with. And I was just blah, 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 blah. And I think I was probably more upset that Alex Bowman was going to get in than I was that Reddick was in serious jeopardy of missing. But that ended up not coming to fruition because really not that many laps later. Again, I don't know what the lap difference was, but Bowman kind of had started to work his way back up toward the front, and they were getting pretty racy. Really, the whole first stage was very racy, in my opinion. Guys were pretty aggressive. They made some moves, and Kyle Larson, being who he is and the aggressive driver that he is, and wrecking ball really is what we're looking for. Uh, Upset the 23. I don't care what Denny Hamlin says. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm not saying that he drove Bubba Wallace across the 22's nose, but he definitely pushed him really hard and got him out of shape and in a bad aero spot coming off that fourth turn there and sent him across the nose of the 22. Who to get into? Was it Kyle Busch?
yeah. Kyle Busch was on the other side.
And those two just kind of came together like Newton's cradle and caused a big wreck throughout the trioval there and wiped out a bunch of good cars. Who was it that hit Cindric so hard? Was that Bubba?
That was Bubba. Yeah,
Yeah, just you know, I don't know if this will make you feel better or worse, but Cindric was the guy all week I was going to pick for this race. And right at the last minute, I made the switch to Eric Jones.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that caused a big wreck, and that's what wiped out Bowman's car and ultimately put him in the garage, having him be done for the day and having to put his fate in the other driver's hands. And apparently, Ryan Blaney came through for him. Did you see any particular fault in that wreck?
Um, I just hard pushing. Obviously, Logano got tight there, and that allowed Bush below, and obviously Bubba got above him, and I just feel like there was probably didn't realize they were three wide at that point. Maybe Bubba thought Logano had more room below him. Obviously, Larson push him sideways. It almost looked like Bubba was straight for a second, and then um, it just kind of got sucked into the 22, and once he got sucked into there, he couldn't get out, and then got the eight caught up, and they just kind of sandwiched together there.
Yeah. So you're not placing any serious blame on anybody.
Not serious, no, just a racing incident coming off of a corner that's notorious for cars getting either loose or tight, like Logano did, and obviously Logano got loose off of it later. So it just kind of just the way things worked out there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Pretty much just a racing incident. I don't know what more. I mean, it's restrictor plate racing, and I understand they're not restrictor plates anymore, but that's what I'm going to call it to the day I die. That just that plate racing style of everybody going for that same piece of real estate, and whether that was a spotter communicative error or what, that I guess if you listen to DBC, maybe they clear that up. That whether Freddie told him he was three wide or not,
Yeah, I
um,
haven't listened to that yet.
I haven't either. So. I guess we'll find out at that point if Freddie's to blame or not. I like blaming Freddie. I think it's a good idea. Uh, that it seemed like as the race progressed in the second stage, that's really where you saw the majority of your fuel mileage. come into play. The majority of the second stage I thought was guys saving their fuel. And I think even Ryan Blaney said that he could just kind of hung out in the back at that stage, um, and let the other guys burn off their fuel, and he just kind of rode and saved his, and that's what allowed him to get the track position at the end and just be able to go harder because he had more fuel to use. Is that how you saw it? That it was pretty hard first stage and then the fuel saving second stage?
Yeah, definitely. You could tell things were calmed down a bit, and stage was a little bit longer than the fuel range, but I think some guys stretched it out because of that one caution. I don't remember what it was for there at the end of the stage two, but yeah, that was definitely a calmer stage two.
Yeah, and even the beginning of stage three was relatively mild, I thought. It wasn't until about, what was that final stage? Like 55 laps?
Uh, I think it was supposed to be like 60 laps, and then of course so many caution laps after the second stage ate up some. So green flag probably 55, but we got that one quick caution, so it was probably about 50 lap stretch of the final run.
Yeah, it seemed like after that point, about 40 to go is when it started to pick up again. Um, and then you talked about it before, Logano. Were you thinking that Joey Logano was going to win this race? Like, did he look like he had the most dominant car to you?
Yeah, at the end there, I thought he was going lane to lane and whatnot, and obviously I didn't see the third lane ever coming to form. Even though they were two by two, it was still pretty racy at the front. There were different leaders and stuff there a lot and whatnot. And but once Logano got up there, I thought for sure he was going to be the guy who hold the line. I figured he was only going to have to hold off two, but of course that didn't come to fruition. But
Yeah, you'd even see uh, guys like get a run if he was blocking the top line coming off at two. You'd see guys get a run and they'd dive to the inside and they'd draw even with him. But he just stayed in the top lane and would eventually go back by him. Like he didn't try to block him. He didn't try to uh, I don't know, didn't try to look like he'd do anything other than just, hey, you got your run, but too bad you're not going to make it through this next set of corners. But I'm going to get the run back on the top, and he just always did. Uh, just seemed like a really good car that was able to stay out front and had me really, really excited that, you know, oh, this might be it because it just seems like um, I don't know if you've ever had this feeling. Um, trying to think. Back in the day, as a Hendrick fan, you went to Martinsville, it was going to be a Hendrick car that was going to win. Like you just knew when Martinsville's on the schedule, Gordon's got a chance to win. Like that was your thought at that point. Well, when we go to the plate races, it's like, well, Joey's going to have a shot to win, but he'll somehow either get wrecked or very rarely does he just lose. I can think of the 500 that Stenhouse won. It was just a few feet from being a caution where the 22 would have been out front and won that Daytona 500, but he got beat there. The one of the ones, I think it was the second one that Denny Hamlin won, was the same deal. Like he couldn't get anybody to push him. He could go, but he couldn't get anybody to push him, and Denny just stayed out front. Um, so those are two where like he was still running up front at the end, and I thought that he had a shot to win it. But for the most part, it's just like I know he's going to run well, but he's going to get wrecked, and that's so frustrating. And even after he got spun and didn't hit anything, I was like, man, maybe he's got an opportunity still to work his way back up through the field. I mean, I know there's only 8 laps to go, but it seemed like his car was so good and there was opportunities to pass that I thought that it might get back to the top five at least, and just never did. And that's why it surprised me so much to see Blaney come up through there like he did. One more question before we get off the Logano topic. When he spun, did you feel that he should have been obligated to come down pit road at pit road speed at that point, or did you think that going back out through the grass was okay?
I felt like if he truly didn't have control of the car, then of course he could have had no choice to go through the grass. But if he had control of his car, I think you're pretty obligated to get down pit road and have a safe way back onto the track. I mean, he goes out on the grass too soon, maybe cuts through the grass and then wrecks the rest of the field, then you have a problem. But Um, I thought for sure he straightened it up, and I thought for sure he was going to pull down pit road. Whether he did that on purpose or not, I mean, I know NASCAR probably has the data to see, but um, all of his tires are flat. I could understand him not being able to steer down pit road either. So um, I really don't have a whole lot more on that. It looked like weird that he come back out on the grass, but when you have four flat tires in these cars, it's hard to tell.
So you think that there's a possibility that he drove it through the grass hoping to get a caution?
I think there is a possibility, but I I don't have enough information to know for sure.
I think there's a real possibility that that's what was going on. Yeah, as much as tires even meant in that race, just for handling reasons, yeah, I could see if you didn't have any other damage that like, hey, give me a caution here. I'll come down pit road, put tires in it, put all the fuel I need in it, and I'm gonna be able to just go. Um, yeah, I think that if if he was able to pull that off and not look suspicious, because I didn't hear anybody else say that like it was odd that he drove it back out through the grass after it looked like he had it gathered up. But I didn't even see any chatter of that online anywhere.
I've seen a
And
little bit on Twitter
that
about
just
it.
was the very
Yeah,
first. Oh, did you?
yeah.
Uh, that was my very first thought was like, he might have went out there on purpose to try to get get a caution, which is a smart move if you can get away with it, especially if you can make it look good. But yeah, I think that is a very real possibility there.
I felt like when the announcer said, "Oh, he got it saved," and I don't know, I think to the effect it goes, "Oh, he's going into the grass." Like they were surprised he couldn't turn down pit road.
Yeah,
I felt like there was a little bit of sound in the announcers, but nothing more was said about that.
yeah. So unfortunately, the most dominant car of the night didn't end up getting to victory lane, which I don't know. That I think that would make a little different conversation about the 22 going into the playoffs, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. Ryan Blaney, obviously the big storyline is him going from 12th or 13th or whatever it was to first in the last two laps. Um, just an incredible drive by him. But even he said it, he just put it up top because that's where Cole went. He told Cole that he'd go with him if he went up top, and it almost just seas just parted for him. Like obviously they had to build the run, but it just ended up going further and further to the front, and pretty soon the opportunity was there for Blaney. As he drove that car to the front, like, did you think that he even had a shot at it?
Um, yeah, I thought it was just going to be a two by two train to the finish.
You didn't think
Um,
that third lane was going to make it?
no, I've had some thoughts that like I think this time enough people stepped out there to make that third lane work. I think the middle lane, had there been more laps, would have dissolved back into a two by two train. I think it was just a mixture, just the perfect storm that's how the race finished three wide. Well, technically four wide, but it was four wide front and three lanes behind. But the middle lane with Larson, it ended up being Larson, Elliott, and whatever. They were spreading out, and had it been another lap or so, it would have been back to two lanes.
Yeah.
To me, it was a perfect storm. It would have either been two lanes or it'd have been a gridlock of three by three. Um, you know, I just think it was a perfect storm that would happen to come up to the finish and it made it look great. Of course, it was a great finish, but I think any longer, another lap or so, it would have been back to two by two.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment of that. Um, when Cole Custer was leading that lane, and I can't remember, I can't remember who was leading, and he like dove to the middle and then went underneath of him. Do you remember who it was?
The seven was on one line. Um,
I can't remember if it was Haley or not.
um, I'm trying to remember. Larson was behind another driver, and I don't remember. Felt like Haley at one point was the bottom line, but in the end, Haley ended up at the top line. Well, second to top or whatever. But
Yeah. So
yeah,
do you I think it might have been Haley that was leading when Custer like got the run. Haley went to block and then he dove it clear to the bottom because he had that run that I was talking about that guys would get on Logano off of two and then dove it to the bottom. Um, and it looked like Custer below the yellow line. I think that he was forced down there based on the block that was trying to be thrown. But had he won that race, did you feel like that was a force down there, or should he have been penalized?
To me, he was forced down there, and as soon as he got room to come up back next to the seven, he was back on the track. To me, that's a non-issue at that point. I felt like there was contact with them to the line or below the line, so to me, it was a good no call.
Okay. I agree with you there. I just didn't know what you thought about it. Um, Kyle Larson, like, how many drivers did he wreck or almost wreck in this race? Like, he kind of drove like Austin Hill.
Well, I think he was because he was mainly the first Chevy in line. I feel like any of them Chevys pushing on them cars are the Chevy cars themselves. I don't think push very well. Um, that's just kind of how I see it. The nose is more pointed on them, and Chevy has worked years trying to round the nose to the best they can. They're allowed to still match their manufacturer Camaro. Um, and they've made some gains at it, but I don't know what. I'm not sure what the rules are as far as how much the bumper has to look like the car you're running or whatnot. But the Chevys always had that pointed nose, and they don't fit as flat as the Toyotas or the Fords do to each other, who could almost tandem at times, down the straightaways and whatnot stuff. And them Chevys, when you see them pushing, you'll see the car ahead of them sideways, back and forth, and this and that, and it can cause havoc.
Yeah, I'm tired of that excuse out of the Chevy fans because you're right. I agree with that it's harder for the Chevys to push, but nobody was pushing like Kyle Larson was. Like Larson upset so many cars with the way that he was pushing, and he had Eric Jones halfways wrecked 3 times before he finally set him way outside the line where he couldn't gather back up and stay hold his position. I don't know what it was. It was a Larson specific issue. I don't know why it was or what happened there, but he just was hammering on people.
I know at that point, I heard Rick Hendrick was on the radio telling him we can't let these guys win because it was going to knock out the 48. I think him and Chase were trying to help each other to get one of them to the front so there wasn't a new winner. And I just think maybe at that point there was desperation mode, trying to get out front.
Yeah, and that's really what is frustrating to me because I didn't feel like, you hear a lot about the team orders at the restrictor plate races and stuff like that. This was, you didn't have any of that issue in this race other than the Hendrick cars trying to get Bowman in. Like that was it. That was the only time that anybody was concerned about team orders or any of that stuff. And it was just the Hendrick group. It wasn't even the Chevys. It was, all those guys that needed to win were up front. There was a bunch of cars up there that hadn't won a race, and it was shaping up to be a real good show. And then this whole, oh, we got to get Bowman in because he's not going to do anything in the playoffs, so you got to make sure he makes it. Uh, I don't know. I I'm not blaming Hendrick for doing it because it's the system, but it's so frustrating that everybody else was racing for them, and the Hendrick cars were clearly racing for a guy that wasn't even on the racetrack, and that was frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I mean, as a Hendrick fan, I was just rooting for a driver that uh, already had a win to win, and that was seriously, I don't know, the most nerve-wracking few laps for me for rooting for a guy to make the playoffs. Then, normally I'm nervous because my driver's leading or something, waiting for something to go wrong. But just I was hoping a driver that won already previously would win the race, and obviously Blaney won the race, so I was happy for that. But it was just, I mean, it's more money for Hendrick, and all the drivers are working as a team for their boss, and it just you're going to get that. If there was somebody, a Ford guy or a Penske guy, Penske would have been up there going for that win also. So I mean, you can't just blame Hendrick for it.
Well, here's the problem though. I think that if it was Austin Cindric that wasn't or Josh Berry that wasn't in or needed the points to get in or whatever the case is, I think that Ryan Blaney would be doing that. I don't think Joey Logano would. I think Joey Logano would be going out there. I am going to win this race. I don't care what any of the rest of them are trying to do.
Well, I imagine Larson himself wanted to win the race. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm sure he
yeah, I
did.
mean, but at that point, they didn't. If once Larson got to lead, he'd have been going out there blocking this and that, or who knows what all. But
Yeah, no. I'm not,
yeah,
again, I'm not faulting those guys for doing what they did. It just was frustrating that that was an element and you weren't seeing they were clearly working together, which is okay. Like you're allowed to do that. Just was I just like it better when everybody's all out 100% selfish for them. And
yeah. So I
those
mean,
guys,
you had the Ford guys of Ryan Blaney and Cole Custer working together. I mean, they were a Ford manufacturing teammates at that point. That was their goal was to help them to get to the front as Ford teammates. Um, I imagine they would have been all right if Custer would have won. It would knock the Chevy out and the Ford in. I mean, in the end, Ryan Blaney got his bonus points. That was more important to them for that. But um, I feel like there's more teammate stuff going on out there than what you just saw. I mean, that was just the obvious one because of where Bowman was in the standings, and it happened to be Hendrick drivers right there. But I think there was more going on than what you saw.
but even like the 17 and the 60, I didn't see them working together because they both needed to win. Like they weren't trying to put both of their cars out front so that one of them won. Like Busher was going for that win, and so was Priest, and they didn't care what happened to the other guy.
Yeah, I didn't happen to pay attention to both of them and what points they were leading or what, but
Oh, you didn't? You didn't happen to pay attention to the 60 car when the Hendrick cars just shuffled them all the way to the back?
well, I saw when they shuffled him to the back. Any driver would have shuffled him to the back if they're not Ford or related or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I love it when this gets a little contentious. Ryan Blaney ends up getting the win off of some masterful driving. He puts himself out front of, like you said, a four wide finish behind him. And he was close to getting swallowed up there too himself. Another few hundred feet, and I don't know that he would have got it. And uh, ends up breaking the advanced auto parts scheme curse, where he always seems to crash in that car. And it's a great looking car too. Uh, I'm a fan of Ryan Blaney. I like him not just because he's a Penske driver. He could be racing anywhere, and I think that he's a cool dude, and like seeing him win uh, anywhere but Hendrick, I guess. And uh, it was neat to see him get the win. It always feels good when Blaney wins. Like feels like the sport wins when Blaney wins. I don't know of anybody that really doesn't like Ryan Blaney. Do you?
I I'd say he's one of my top four drivers if I had to go over there. I mean, he's the only Penske driver I like. So,
You like him better than Logano?
hell yeah. Logano's like 10 on the list. I have to go back in history to pick other drivers
Wow.
from Penske. But anyhow, but yeah, I have no issue with Blaney.
Yeah. Um, So I guess that we pretty much covered that race top to bottom there. Um, your pick was Kyle Busch. I didn't think it was a bad pick. Um, but he obviously got caught up in that first big wreck. I can't see on the sheet here. What did he finish? 33rd?
30-30, yeah.
And I had Eric Jones finishing fifth. Almost won the race had it not been for Kyle Larson. Uh, had a really good shot out at that STP scheme. That would have just been legendary and iconic to see him win at Daytona and get that paint scheme in victory lane and go to the playoffs. And Kyle Larson ruined all that for everybody. So that was disappointing. Probably should start with a points penalty because of that. But in spite of all that, I was still able to get the better finish between the two of us and take the lead in our point standings going into the next race. We talked about it, and because there's only two of us, it doesn't really make sense to do a playoff system. And so we're just going to keep rolling with the season-long points. I've had a pretty major comeback, and every time that I got the lead, we went to a road course, and you got to pick SVG, so you picked up a bunch of wins that way, which is the most Hendrick fan thing to do. And but I'm back on top right now by 9 points and looking forward to going into these final 10 races. What we need to do is figure out some kind of a punishment for whoever loses. There should be, instead of a prize for who wins, there needs to be a punishment for who loses. I'm thinking that the loser's got to run a 5K.
If it's downhill, maybe we'll see.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. Uh, overall, what would you say that your rating of this race is?
um, I think everything played out great to make it a good race there at the end. Cautions at the perfect time made fuel mileage mainly a not issue, except for maybe in the second stage a little bit. Most of the time they were going out all out, and I gotta give this. I'll give this 9. It far exceeded what I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was looking at our ratings. A lot of times they're pretty close. Um, last week I had the Richmond race a little bit better. I had it at an 8, you had it at 7.5. You're giving this one a 9, you said.
Yeah.
Um, I'm giving it I'm giving it an 8.5 just
Okay.
because of the fuel saving thing. I wish that there was not as much of that. I don't know what they did to make the actual racing better because it seemed like um, guys could definitely pass a lot better than they used to. So I'm not sure what the difference was there, but very pleased to see it. I'm happier with what we saw. It's still not exactly what I want, and I don't expect it to be exactly what I want every single time. But if exactly what I want is a 10, this came close. This is 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I just feel like it just happened to be a perfect storm. Had there been more laps to go or more fuel mileage, we could be having a different discussion.
Yeah, I agree. Just so that we mention it before we finish up with Cup at Daytona, Kyle Larson won the first stage, Ross Chastain won the second stage, and AJ Allmendinger actually ended up with the Xfinity fastest lap. So those were the guys that scored the points in that race. And I think both Blaney and Logano were tied for most laps led, which I guess I don't really know why I brought that up, that they don't score points for that anymore. But they both of those guys had a strong car. So it was good to see uh, a car that was up front end up getting the win. Wouldn't have had any problem with Eric Jones winning. Wouldn't have had any problem with trying to think who else was up there a lot. Um, I don't know,
Cody
but even
Ware.
yeah, but even like he just kind of shuffled up front there, and they left him there.
Yeah.
I
That
wouldn't
was
have had a
kind
problem.
of during their fuel saving time or whatever that he was
Yeah,
leading. So I just thought it was funny that because I made the comment last week that Cody Ware could win. There he is leading laps, just gonna. That could have been the time to finally end the system, but it didn't.
yeah,
That'd been the only time I've been happy Cody Ware would have won if it would have messed the system up. But
yeah, yeah. That's true. Right. The only other thing that really I wanted to talk about their actual racing in Daytona before we get to the playoffs was just how awesome it was to see Parker Kligerman win that race, subbing for Connor Zilisch, and goes out there, that 88 car. I think that's their seventh win this year in the 88. Larson won one at Texas, and Connor had five, I think.
Connor had 6
Um,
himself, so if that make well, this one would have been 7 because it's listed under
so
Connor's name, and then Larson
okay,
had
so
one,
that
so it might be 8.
wow, that's a lot of times the 88 has gone to victory lane this year. Uh, but that's awesome. Like Parker Kligerman, what a guy to put in that car in the first place to know that like, hey, Connor's going to start the race, but he needs a relief driver, and to just have Parker be the guy that ends up getting the opportunity to go in that car, um, deserves it and ends up in victory lane. It just so cool. I was really I don't know. There's not too many things in the sport that it's just like that just is awesome. I love seeing that. And that was one of them. I guess Austin Hill getting suspended, I felt really good about that. But other than that, this really just warmed my heart. What did you think?
Yeah. Obviously, I was rooting for Allgaier, but if anybody was to win, I was. It was pretty cool for Kligerman to get that opportunity and win a race. Um, it just the way the points in the regular season championship for the Xfinity Series, it was Zillich still got all those points, and Allgaier's fighting him with the points. So I was kind of rooting for Allgaier there at the end, but that was a good second case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, hard to argue with that. Um, obviously they made the announcement that Connor Zilic is going to Cup. Um, I don't know if it's going to be the 99 car, but uh, otherwise I think they would have said the 99. Um, but going to race at Trackhouse in whatever that is, that team is, whatever number they end up being. Um, so I think everybody saw that one coming a mile away. I see that there's rumors coming out today that one of the charters that NASCAR has could end up going to Junior Motorsports, and that Suarez could be the driver there. I don't know if that's true. I've heard that they're moving Allgaier to Cup in that charter. I've heard that it's not even going to Junior Motorsports, so I'm not sure what the whole deal is. It was part of a redacted paper that didn't list the team name, so part of the court hearing with 2311 and FRM. So I'm not sure what that whole scenario entails, but I don't know if Junior's even interested in going cup racing for as expensive as it is. But uh, I don't know. I thought it was interesting that how this is all shaken out, and that kind of you know that whole topic there kind of weaved in and out with different storylines. But um, Parker winning in Zilich's stead, it was a cool story. Parker or Connor going to Cup, cool story, and the fact that Junior Motorsports might have a Cup team is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what to believe with some of this court paper stuff and whatnot, and there's a lot of sketchy things I think both sides are doing to try and make it look like one is harming the other and this and that. And a thing I said today that I seen today that Reddick put in a notice of contract or broken contract, whatever, because he's not racing under a charter. And I don't believe Reddick's planning on going anywhere if he can drive in that car and win races and is paid what he should be paid. Um, but obviously he's going to do that, and 2311 is going to say that's causing us harm, and that's trying to keep NASCAR from or trying to get on the judge's side against NASCAR. NASCAR is saying they have these teams lined up for charters and they need to get rid of them now. Is NASCAR trying to win their case against 2311? So I don't know what to believe, half of these things and whatnot. And there's rumors that NASCAR now just has all these charters at their disposal to do with what they want. And Front Row Motorsports bought all Front Row in 2311 bought these charters, and now they're just taken away, and they have nothing to show for it. So it's all
Yeah,
just a.
obviously that's NASCAR.
I was just saying it's going to be a nasty situation.
Yeah, that and obviously NASCAR's argument to that is, well, they didn't sign the charter agreement, so they don't have charters to be taken away. They didn't renew them, so too bad.
Yeah, I mean,
And
2311 Front Row Motorsports can't sue NASCAR if they sign the charters because there's a non-suing clause or whatever in the charters, and it's just a messy situation.
yeah, no, I like I still am wholeheartedly rooting for 2311 and FRM. I think that NASCAR has put themselves in the position of a monopoly, and I think that the people at the helm are destroying what we once had. And I will stand by that statement until they show me otherwise. It's I agree with Dale Jr. in I've liked NASCAR for a long time, and I don't want to see it go away, and I don't want to be against the people running the sport. But at some point, it's got to break. Like you look at this car, you look at what they're doing to the teams, and it's all about cheapen the product and raise your profit margin. And that's good business, so to speak, but it's bad for any kind of sport. Like it's one of the things that I complain about as a Pirates fan right now is, the owner of the Pirates, Bob Nutting, they can make money doing what they're doing, but they're never going to win baseball games. They're never going to go to the postseason. They're never going to make a World Series run doing what they're doing, but he can still make money doing what he's doing. And that's a flaw in the system. And I feel like NASCAR is creating the flaw in the system so that they can continue to make their money. And, we're going to continue to show up and watch. And it's how little can we spend on the car and the racing product itself. So that's just a frustrating little side tangent there. Anything else that you want to talk about from the on-track action before we get into the actual playoffs?
I don't got nothing.
It warmed your heart to see Parker win too. That's what I'm taking away from this. Um, okay, NASCAR playoffs. This was the cutoff race for the Cup Series. The Xfinity Series is still working on their championship setup, and the Truck Series starts this weekend too. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. One of the things that this show has been missing for a long time is some sort of a cheesy segment with a NASCAR pun. And so I want to call this Start and Park. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the list of playoff eligible drivers in Cup Series. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Guys that are in the playoffs right now. And I don't want you to pick out four for the championship four. I just want you to tell me, do you think this driver could be a championship four driver? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're either going to start them or park them. I'll give you the name. You tell me if you're starting or parking. Good?
Yep.
Okay. Kyle Larson.
Start.
Yep. I'm in the same boat. William Byron.
Start.
I'm parking him. I don't think he's making the championship four. Denny Hamlin.
I'm start.
I'm parking. Denny's not a championship four driver. He's a round of eight driver.
Hmm.
Ryan Blaney.
I'm gonna park.
You're parking Ryan Blaney.
And if I only got one more guy to go through, that was
Yeah, but you don't need to have just four. Like you can
oh,
have it's just guys that you think can make the championship four. It
okay.
doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
then
limited to four.
yeah, I'll start him then.
Okay. I'm also starting him. I think that he's definitely making the championship four. Or I should say definitely going to have an opportunity to make the championship four. Um, Christopher Bell.
I'd start him.
Yeah, I am too. Shane Van Gisbergen.
Um, Park, not the final four. No.
What if you had to start him in the round of eight? Do you think you can get there?
Um, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
He's kind of a wild card to me because of how many playoff points he has.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to run great to advance out of the first probably two rounds. But anyways, Chase Elliott.
Park.
You're a Chase Elliott fan.
Yeah, but he just doesn't have championship speed. He's consistent. Top
He's
20s is not going to win you a championship in this format.
okay, but doesn't he have the best average finish of any driver this year?
Average finish is not going to get you anywhere in this format.
Okay. All right. That is a great point. That is a great point. Chase Briscoe.
Um, I'm going to say start. I
Yeah, I think he's going to be the champion. If I had to pick a champion today, I think it's Chase Briscoe. I think it's, well, it kind of depends because the last round really sets up good for Blaney. But yeah, I definitely am starting him. I think that he's going to be a tough out.
Yeah.
Um, Bubba Wallace.
Park.
Yeah. They've got speed. They run good. It wouldn't surprise me to see them make a deep run, but I just don't think championship four.
Yeah.
Austin Cindric.
Park.
Yeah, I'm parking him too. Same deal. I think that he could go a long ways, or he could be a first round exit. He's just so up and down. I can't tell. Ross Chastain.
Park.
Yeah, I'm parking him. Joey Logano.
I got to start. He just always. I hate it, but it's just something about the playoffs with him. He just comes to life.
Yeah, I think that I think Logano's got a really good shot at being a champion again this year.
It is
And
an odd
I even
year though,
heard
but
yeah, that on the teardown when I was listening to that, Jordan Bianchi was saying that there's no way he's picking Logano because it's an odd numbered year. And they were doing basically the same thing on the teardown. They were going through guys that they thought were could be the champion this year. Their argument was, and we'll get into this topic in a second, is 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 this playoff field stronger than we realize it is? Like, there's a lot of guys in here that you could see being the champion, or at the very least in the final four. And when they got to, and Bianchi always makes these dumb comments just trying to get Jeff wound up. And what he kept saying, like, what do you think of Logano? And he's like, no, it's an odd numbered year. It's not going to be Logano. He's like, no, seriously, I want your answer. Do you think it could be Logano? Finally, he broke him and he goes, yeah. He goes, I think it could be Logano. And he said, and honestly, I'm rooting for that because I think that if Joey Logano wins this championship, that will absolutely scrap this format. So uh, maybe you should be rooting for it. I don't know.
I can't quite do that.
You don't want him to tie Gordon with championships?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Back on track here. Uh, Josh Berry.
Park.
Okay. Do you have the points pulled up?
Um. Yeah.
Okay. I want you to have them just for this next thing. Tyler Reddick.
Um. I'm gonna say Park.
Yeah, me too. Because I think that if they flipped that switch and turned it on, they could absolutely get there. I just don't see them turning the switch.
And especially with what's going on with the lawsuit, I
Austin,
really think that's taken out a little bit of it too, out of the team itself. But um, I
well,
don't
I
know.
don't know. Bubba's run really well though.
You're right. I don't know. It's hard to tell with that team because you expect. I consider Reddick a better driver than Bubba, but Bubba's been outperforming Reddick lately from what I've seen. But
Yeah. Uh, Austin Dillon.
um, he's gonna park it into somebody else probably.
Alex Bowman.
Park.
Yeah. Okay, so let me look through this list.
I feel like the only difference we really had was with Hamlin.
Now we had difference in Byron too.
Okay.
Let me buy some time here.
I don't know what to say. uh,
It's a podcast. You got to talk.
I know, and that's why you're here to do all the talking.
Let's see. It's funny. I wasn't even doing this on purpose. Just out of those names, the guys that I started, I only ended up with four.
Oh yeah.
And you've got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Okay. So I want you to narrow down who your four would be, and then I'll tell you who I was left with for my four. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, um,
Chase
Chase
Briscoe.
Briscoe, Joey Logano.
All right. I'm gonna leave Joey Logano out because he's just kind of the last guy in for what I would say Park. I'm putting. I think Denny Hamlin is running better. I think had he not been involved in that accident at Richmond, that he probably would have been a winner there. To me, at the right racetracks, he's got the right speed. And Martinsville, one of his best tracks. I think he's running hot enough. He'll make the final four. I
Okay.
have. I think William Byron is probably been the best running Hendrick car. lately. Um, because I almost have him above Kyle Larson right now to make the Final Four. Let's see, I got to put Christopher Bell in because them final few tracks are right for him, especially Martinsville, which I'd say I think Blaney's one there too. So I got three guys there. So let's see. I think I'll put Byron, Hamlin, Blaney, and Bell in the Final Four.
So that leaves out Briscoe and Larson of the guys that you'd previously selected could win the championship.
Yeah, I just they're all so tight. It's really hard to.
So you don't feel like that's a great, like, that's a lock.
All right, yeah,
That's good. That's a good thing, I think. Um, the reason I hesitated when I was reading through the list is I had forgot to tally Bell, so I actually have five guys in my group of people. I have Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano. Um,
five guys, burgers and fries.
yeah. Um, boy, who am I going to cut out of that five? Boy, I don't know. I can't see a championship four with no Hendrick car, but I almost want to take Larson out of it. I feel like a Bell, Blaney, Briscoe, Logano is a solid pick. I think I'm going to leave Larson out and say that there is no Hendrick car there. So two Gibbs and two Penske. I can't wait to see how wrong both of those are. Um, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I would not at all be surprised to see two Penske cars in it.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like Logano's last year was just kind of a stroke of luck the way the 48 had the penalty and stuff. And Logano has run a bit better this year, but I haven't seen enough that it should get him to the Final Four. But
So this is my argument with that is last year Logano was nowhere until that 700 overtime finish at Nashville. Is that where we determined he won?
yeah, I think that's what it was, Nashville.
And then after that, he went back off the cliff. Like you didn't hear of him. He won at Nashville, then he fell back off the cliff. And this year, I feel like he started the year strong, won at Texas, and then after his win, he kind of slowly faded away.
Yeah,
And then he was fast at Richmond and he was fast at Daytona, and I just feel like they're winding it right back up again. And I mean, I could see him winning at Darlington this weekend. I could see him winning at Gateway. I could see all kinds of tracks that he ends up winning at. So this wouldn't surprise me at all if they're there in the championship four. Um, okay, the other side of that, we'll just hit it quickly. Who do you got your first four out?
let's see. Austin Dillon, Josh Berry, um, Austin Cindric, and hmm, what tracks are we at again? I don't remember what.
Um, Not sure. I know we go to Darlington. I think we go to
Darlington,
Gateway.
Gateway, and that 13th or whatever SVG finished at with Richmond was impressive. Um,
Yeah, it was.
but I just wonder if that race kind of finally played into the hands of someone who actually had to drive a car um,
Yeah,
into the
fair point.
driver instead of these other tracks where it's so much aero that maybe that's where his disadvantage is. I don't think Shane's gonna make it out of the first round.
Okay. Bristol's the last track in that. So it is Darlington, Gateway, Bristol.
Okay.
Um, Looking at that. So yours are Shane, Cindric, Barry, and Dylan.
Yes.
Okay. Um, you're the guy that told me that consistent finishes are going to get you nowhere in this format.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
I
I
I, I
think
meant a championship.
okay, but
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think Barry's out. I'm with you there. They just don't have the speed right now. Um, Gateway is the outlier for me because I think that Cindric could be fast there. So Barry could too, but I just I have more confidence in Cindric. I think Chastain's out.
Yeah, I was on the edge with him too.
Um, I think Bowman's out because he's a hack, but I legitimately think he's out. Like I don't think that they're running well enough. Um, I don't necessarily love him as a first round exit, but he doesn't have any points, and they're not running great, and I don't see him as a threat to win at any of those tracks. I mean, he might actually run decent at Darlington. I'm not sure, but I don't feel great about it. Reddick is going to run well at Darlington. Um, Austin Dillon is he's been fast the last few weeks. I don't feel great about putting him as a first round exit. Hmm. And I think that Shane has too many points to not make it out of the first round. Like I think it would have to go really bad for him to not make it. Hmm. Struggling to pick a fourth here, but I gotta grab somebody. I guess I'll take Austin Dillon, but I think he makes it close. I think that Dillon will run well. I hate that I have to take him because I think that he's actually got a shot at making it out of that round. So I'll save this piece of paper and see how wrong we are after we get through this. Um, yeah, I guess that was the other question I was going to ask is do you think that this is one of the tougher fields of playoff drivers that we've had in a while?
I could see that. I don't know. Like if I'm looking at the point standings now, maybe with the exception of Shane and Chase, and kind of move Chase Briscoe up there and make like the top six. I think the top six are pretty close right there. Um, but like if I'm looking right now, the bottom four, four, five, six, seven, I'd say that half the field at most has a chance to make the final four. But I really haven't
Okay,
looked
but
back last year to see what we had. But
I guess my point being that I think that there is no like there's no guy that just there's no Cody Ware, like no magical won a race guy and now he's getting stuck in there. Like Shane won four of these races, even though he was so far back in the points. Even if Keselowski had won this race and made it in, you'd be like, I don't think he's a championship threat, but he might not be a first round exit. I mean, they run well,
yeah,
they
he
just
wasn't
haven't
like a
won, and
Burton
in a
last
terrible.
year or something. Yeah,
Right, exactly. Um, so I don't know. Do you feel like it's stronger for that reason because there's just not those couple guys that you go, nah, they're definitely not making it out of the round.
I guess you could make that argument. I'd have to really look at other fields and stuff to be for sure. But I guess I could see where you're going. I could see any of these guys that are below the cut line advancing it and not being super surprised.
Yeah.
Um, maybe Josh Berry because I really thought at the beginning of the year he was going to be hot with the other Penske drivers, and he just hasn't been. But
Well, that's
um,
I would jump right on that same train and say that, yeah, I think that Josh Berry's the first guy to me that goes, I don't think that he's gonna make it out of the first round. But also, I don't also look back at his win and be like, oh yeah, he lucked into that one. Like he won that race
Yeah.
legitimately.
Yeah.
There was
Um,
no fuel mileage thing. There was no restrictor plate racetrack. It was Berry straight up beat everybody.
yeah, I think there was like I don't remember who it was, but somebody had like I think a tire or pit road issue that put him out front, but still he was fast top five car and won the race. I mean, so, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. My final question on the playoffs, being that we just went through who's, stronger. SVG has 4 wins this year, right?
Yeah.
Who do you feel is a more legitimate playoff car? I don't even mean to go in the rounds. I just mean who do you think has a better is more deserving to be there? Shane or Austin Dillon?
Um, to me, it's Shane. I mean, I mean, obviously, I'm not sure where Shane would be in points without the 4 wins, but I believe Shane was still ahead of Austin Dillon in points. Um, I mean, I don't know what their head to head is on other tracks and stuff, but what Shane put together at those road courses is to me pretty impressive and is more deserving than I guess I would say Austin Dillon being in the playoffs. But
I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at is when Shane won that first race and it's like he won his way into the playoffs, everybody's like, yeah, he doesn't deserve to be there. But I feel like after Richmond with Dylan, it was like I'm not surprised that he won that race, and of course he's in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the same reaction as when Shane won the first one.
yeah, I think in a way Shane still
Even though
feels
like he
like a
was,
gimmick, but to be put into the playoffs that way, but it's just I just Shane has been improving on the ovals. There's no doubt. So once Shane figures out the ovals, it might be game over for the rest of the series. But um, yeah, I think Shane is well deserving to be up there more than Austin Dillon.
okay. Yeah, I don't really argue that. I think it's kind of the Kyle Busch rule with the Legends cars wins. Whatever it was, 5 or 6 wins totals a cup win.
Yeah,
I think if he wins four road course races, then that equals an oval win. So I don't have any problem with him being in the playoffs. I did at first just because of how far down in the points he was. Um, but yeah, that just like if Brad Keselowski had won this race, you'd be like, yeah, of course Brad's in the playoffs. I mean, he had a rough start to the year, but it makes sense. Um, I actually do have one more question. If we changed this format to just let's just say the old chase race, or the old chase format, top 10 in points, and that's it. That's the cutoff. And I think the original was top 10 in points or within 400 points of the leader. So you could have up to 12 mathematically or whatever that ended up being.
well, I remember there
But
was two wild
regardless,
cards or whatever, but like the top 10 points
well,
plus
that did,
yeah, top 10 points plus two wild cards of who had the most wins below that 10th point within a certain top
well,
20 or
that
25.
yeah, that came later on. But the original chase was like top 10 or if you were within 400 points of the leader.
I remember top 10.
We
I don't
it
remember
never
the yeah. I don't remember the 400
but
point
it
part of it.
never got to that though because nobody was ever there.
Okay.
To where they were that close. So it never came into play. But I remember even on like NASCAR '06, the video game, you could put 12 cars in the playoffs because you could make the points that close when you wanted to do the chase for the cup mode or whatever. Uh, so with all that being said, if we went back to that, just a 10 car field, no more winning you're in, except for the Daytona cutoff race. If you won the Daytona cutoff race, you get in.
I don't know. That's just to me. That's another gimmick to cause chaos. But
Oh, 100% it's a gimmick. But so is the win you're in any week. And I guess my thing is I think that an element of this race being so good was how many of those guys that had to win the race to get in the playoffs were up there.
yeah, I think you're right about that.
So I don't know, maybe they feel like, oh, this is one of my only chances to win, so I'm still gonna race as hard as I did um, when it was I had to get in the playoffs too. But I don't know. There might be a better solution than that, and I'm not even saying that's what I want. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know. That doesn't wouldn't really make much of a difference than what we got now, because um, but I don't like what we have now also. So I really don't know
So
what to think about it.
so you would have like in a case like we had this week, Ryan Blaney wins the race, so whoever's 10th in points just gets in.
Yeah,
But if, you know, Chris Buescher won the race, then he'd get in, and the 10th place guy'd get knocked out.
yeah, I wouldn't really care much for that. No.
Okay. Just curious. Um, I think that that could be a best of both worlds thing. And I'm not even saying that I love that idea. It was just one that I had that kind of melded everybody's ideas together. Because, like I said, I do think that that pressure added to this being a good race.
Yeah, I guess if that's the way you want to make Daytona a good race, that would be the only way you could do it. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Um, Pretty much all I got.
I don't got nothing.
Usually don't. Uh, Next week, if this is accurate, yeah, Cup and Trucks are going to start the playoffs at Darlington, and the Xfinity Series is going to be at Portland on Saturday. Make sure that you follow us on social media at Garage Area on X. Instagram is at the Garage Area, and TikTok is at the dot garage dot area. Follow me, Adam White underscore 22, and at Ryan WW924 if you want to see Ryan's hot takes that he drops all the time. Outside of that, I guess that's going to be it from Daytona, from that race weekend, and we'll see everybody after Darlington.